What's up, guys? I am here with the Valorant beta. Uh, I happened to get lucky and get invited on the first day of the beta streamer promotion. I really don't watch Twitch streams all that often, so it was very surprising to see. But I figured since I was invited, I would mess around in custom games a little bit today and kind of show off some of the spots that I find pretty interesting. One really nice feature in custom games that I really hope makes it to the live servers is this cheats tab. Cheats essentially let you change properties to let you practice abilities without dealing with cooldowns. So, the three maps on the beta right now are Split, Bind, and Haven. I'm going to start attacking on Split. So we have cheats on, standard, closed party, custom game. This is the current champion select. I hope to see this roster grow at some point, but for now, this is what we got. I did end up unlocking Raze, and I'll show a couple spots for her, but I wanted to start with the Jett. Jett, I think, is one of the coolest characters in a game like this. One of the most limiting factors or criticisms that I've heard from people not playing the game is they are worried about the mobility. Obviously, everyone is limited to the same walk speed. You move a little bit faster with your knife out, but it is pretty limiting. When you have cheats enabled, hitting escape pulls up an extra tab in the top here, cheats. This one I'll turn on once the round starts, but basically what we want for practice purposes
My ult's
infinite
ready.
abilities, infinite ammo, magazines, creds. Invulnerability I would suggest leaving off because you want to get accustomed to fall damage. You can turn it on if you would like though, and it would be more useful for the Rocket Lady. So I'm gonna buy an op. Now that I have infinite abilities, let's talk about her abilities. Q. Instantly propel Jett into the air. You can have two charges. You can move while propelled. Obviously, you wouldn't be able to do this in a real game. Her E. Tailwind. Instantly propel Jett in the direction she is moving. Jett is standing still. She will propel forward. So it defaults just forward. But you can also hold backwards. You can hold right, left. You get the idea. Q and E offer a lot of mobility. It's an interesting hit. If you QE immediately, it's a decent amount of lift and forward momentum. So this is the maximum speed you can move
30 seconds left.
in a typical game. Oh, I should probably pause the match timer. So yeah, hit pause. We're stuck on this time. One bug, I guess, in the beta is if your time is paused and you plant the bomb, your game will glitch. Unpausing it doesn't count down the bomb or the spike, so it's something to think about and keep in mind. Typically, when you're attacking B as Jett, you have two main shooting lanes that are the most high risk. The first one being the initial approach of this. Oftentimes, you'll see people throw grenades, random explosives, anything they can down this little choke, because this is the only option. There is another way into B, but it's through this heaven section over here. And this is a lot easier for them to defend because you have to cross this door. Getting over this section is an entire thing in itself. I'm going to talk about later. But for now, we'll start with just this. Okay, the first thing you want to do, if you have C charges, Cloudburst. Instantly throw a projectile that expands into a brief, vision-blocking cloud on impact with the surface. Hold the key to curve the smoke in the direction of your crosshair. So if I just tap C, what we get is an arc. It's kind of like a lob. It actually doesn't drop too fast,
Blocking sight.
but you can see it definitely drops down. Now if you hold down C, it's going to just fly in a straight line, and wherever it collides is where it's going off.
Blocking sight.
The smoke cloud doesn't block movement at all. It definitely inhibits vision.
Blocking sight.
Doesn't last all that long either. You can use it to cover choke points. You can use it to block doors, essentially just the vision portion anyway. Very nice ability. Now, the second part, holding Q to have it trace your mouse, is definitely a unique and definitely good utility with a high skill ceiling, I would say. So, there's a lot of spots. Obviously, people will come up with better methods than this, but one that I like to start with to practice and to find spots where it's useful to curve is to use anchor points. The first anchor point I like to do is to make sure that I'm safe. am I going to be shot where I'm throwing this from? Typically that means you don't want to have an opening, because someone could technically just be crouched in this corner. It would be rare to see, but it's possible. So why even risk it? Let's hide right here, where before the walls open up and you can see outside, you want to be right here. About a tile away is fine. I start with my mouse just in front of these two little bridges or whatever they are, and I want to end my mouse right on this brick that's multicolored. There's a little gray section on this side. So we're chilling right here. We're going to throw a Q. We're going to drag from here down to here, and possibly further across if we get it fast enough. So I'm hitting. See? That's going to block the back. If you do it a little bit faster,
Blocking sight.
you'll see that it covers the entire back, which is more than enough time to rush in and get yourself into a good position. Obviously, you need to account for heaven. You need to account for this wall that people are going to peek. But that's a pretty good spot. So, one more time.
Blocking sight.
Boom. Pretty easily block yourself with that. Now, one spot that I've found is really good to plant with Jett. These three little pieces of paper. You want to plant like right in front of those against the wall. The reason I'm planting against the wall is to reduce the amount of circle that an enemy has to stand in to defuse the spike. So we gotta plant right next to the wall here. They're going to hear it. It's definitely pretty obvious where it is, and it feels safe to stand behind and plant. However, Jett has a Q that lifts her up, something that's unique to her. This lets you play in a really safe position, cover the bomb, and cover heaven pretty effectively on the same elevation. So, that's one strategy you can use to safely defend the bomb in a unique way with Jett. This is the explosion radius in that spot as well. So I will just run it back to reiterate the main points. Between this Q, having two charges, your E, which is just an insanely good mobile tool. That dash can get you past doors, it can get you through doors, it can get you to safe positions. You can also use it to clutch rounds. I think it's way strong. One of the strongest abilities. We'll start back here. We approach these doors. We're trying to not peek. We're gonna line up this spot.
Blocking sight.
Line up this spot. That was not a very good one. Try it again. Pull it down quick. Perfect. That's the ideal spot. Throw your orb. The ideal spot to plant. We're looking at this wall, right in front of these three newspapers.
Sight planted.
Boom. And in a unique spot. Enemies can't, or typically characters can't jump up here. The only way to make yourself jump higher is through her Q and a few other unique abilities. But I do think this is one of the best to utilize this spot from. Another thing that Jett can do that's pretty cool is holding space after a jump will let you just fly in the air. There's no momentum on it. You typically just will use this to like go around corners, reposition yourself effectively. There is no in-air mobility with her though. Like, you never want to shoot in the air. So, I'm going to pause after this round and then we'll continue to the next spot. Next I want to look at Jett's A site approach. Please, if you think of anything that I'm missing or you're able to expand on any of these ideas, I would love comments. I really think that there's a lot of potential with this character, and it would be interesting to see more perspectives and expansion on the skill ladder of this champ. I'm just going to call it champs because it's Riot Games, but I'm sure that that's wrong. There's probably a nomenclature that works. So, approaching A as Jett. Anybody really. This is a high traffic area because you have access to this orb. These orbs are on the map that generate one ulti point when you capture them. Typically, I think they're more valuable on the bigger impact ultis. Jett's ulti is cool, Bladestorm, but if you were to get a free teammate res, I think that the orbs are more valuable in that way. Right in front of A site, you have an orb. That's going to draw people. There's going to be people defending. So, defending, one really important angle is this one right here. A lot of times people are going to spam explosives or anything into this doorway to slow people down, to stop them from being able to push A. This is a really defender advantage area. When you're approaching, what can you do? You don't want to peek and expose yourself to this angle. So what I like to do is line up these two walls. The brown should be touching on these two. And you're looking at the height of the stairs. Ideally, you want to land something like right about here, because that's going to block them from shooting you. If you do feel like you want to save your C charges, it's possible to peek this. I mean, if you have an op, maybe you get the pick right here if they're going to peek it. But you don't want to linger too long as well, because there's obviously 5 people. They're all going to be doing different things. Typically, if you're playing in a coordinated team, it's going to be a lot quicker for people to respond when they notice that there's people here. Like, even if they just peek you for a second, that's information that they're going to transfer to their team, or going to be people approaching from other directions. So, we line up these two brown lines here, aim for the second panel over, hold C, and drag our mouse in. This is going to block that shot, and you could line yourself up at an unexpected angle to get the counter shot, or you can just push your way through. As soon as you know that this is safe, if you have somebody over there, you have somebody able to push through, mid-vent, or A tower. If these areas are controlled by your team, it's a lot safer to do this, but it does expose you on the advantage rush. This is what I would consider long A. This door is pretty close to their spawn. It's really safe for them to peek through. Oftentimes you'll see offers go here. It's a pretty common spot. The other area that you would be exposed from would be heaven at A. So, we don't want to peek either of those. Same idea as before. We're going to line up these two walls here. Aim at the middle of this panel and drag your C down to about here. Once you get more accustomed to the ability, you'll see how far in you have to drag it. It doesn't always have to be anchored to a specific Y. I do think the X is important, though. Right about here is going to bring it down in time so that it's going to bounce off the ground in front of the door, or it's going to hit the stairs over there. That would be ideal. If you can hit these stairs, you're in good shape. So, you line up these two walls, you throw your C at the top of this, and drag it down as quick as you can. That one was a little high. It's in the room. That'll smoke them out and probably push them back, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but you can definitely get it a little better.
Blocking sight.
Okay, so that one landed on the stairs. That's a good spot to block. That's going to open you up to rush through. This is something you would want to coordinate on comms with your team. So you're going to say, like, smoking long A, rush. Thing's going to bounce. You're able to get behind this corner before it expires. This exposes you only to heaven, and this is a decent plant zone. I think utilizing this block in the middle to make your plant safer is not a bad idea. You don't want to be open to this door, or to this passageway behind A back. You also don't want to be exposed to heaven when you're planting. So right about here, if you're able to defend this spot, this is pretty good. Let's plant right here.
Spike planted.
That's Jett. If you back into this corner, you are exposed to heaven, so you never want to touch this wall. You can defend simply from this spot. The beeping is going to show them where the bomb is. They're going to be searching it out. But maybe you hear them coming, your team is able to spot them from another angle. It would be safe, and you can definitely peek this wall without exposing yourself to heaven. So, that's a very good plant spot, I think. Jett also can get on heaven via her Q, which is pretty nice. I'm just going to back up here so I don't die. To right about here. was a little too close. So you want to be further back, but all of this can be tested in custom games. That's kind of the point of customs, I think. So to reiterate my points at this location, we're going to be watching first the A ramp store, and then we're going to be watching A long from screens all the way to A main, because you want to get into the plant site in the back here. This area is covered from this way, it's covered from this way. This corner feels a little OP. I wouldn't be surprised if they trimmed it down flat here to make Heaven able to reach that back corner, but we'll see what happens. We don't want to peek that door. We line up the 2 brown spots, put it in the middle of this.
Blocking sight.
Block that door. Line up your op shot here. As soon as you're able to control this zone a little bit, they're going to be throwing explosions through here. So don't stand too close. Definitely keep an eye and ear open, regardless of how safe you think you are. The second spot, we're lining up these 2 pillars here so we don't expose it to Heaven. And we're aiming at the middle of this, dragging it down to about here. That's going to bounce in front of the door, which gives you an opening. You and your team an opening to push through to A. Bounce. Knife for speed. Watch Heaven. Keep an eye on this angle here. I mean, this also opens you up to just push through when you wouldn't want to walk, obviously, but you're able to check left side Heaven through that door a little bit. Then you're able to walk in real close. Shotgun kills, knife kills, whatever. So say you get the bomb this far.
Blocking sight.
Boom. You rush in. You plant against this wall here. Oh. You might be partially exposed to Heaven here.
Spike planted.
But this limits where they can be. And it also is not a bad spot to defend. If you have someone in Heaven to cover you, I think this pillar right here is pretty safe. You're able to see people coming in from this way. This way, you can easily drop down. If someone rushes in this way, or they're rushing in from Heaven, you're able to drop here. This is a lot of options associated. So you're going to plant from A. You hear them defusing. This is obviously your best path to stop them. If you can't get behind that pillar, you're going to have to find some way to push them out, flush them out, but it's definitely not a bad option. Let's see if this is far enough away. Yep.